Wow, big shout out to the band. What a wonderful way to start off this event. I wanted to point out tonight that the event is being also Zoomed, and after all of you have a chance to share your thoughts and feelings about Peggy, those in the Zoom world will have a chance to share their thoughts with us. So I'd like to share some dates with you, dates that were important in Peggy's life and my life, and how the two of us shared those dates. October 8th, 1938. Peggy was born in a small town, Crandon, north of Green Bay in the state of Wisconsin, a state known for butter and cheese, two foods that Peggy adored until the end of her days. No, I hadn't met Peggy yet. 1960, a half a world away from her, events were happening that would forever affect her future life. My grandfather, her soon-to-be future father-in-law, after a decades-long journey, had successfully become the 21st hereditary chief of the ancient clan McBain. That was a big deal. Our clan had not had a chief in over 200 years. To celebrate this moment in history, my grandfather worked with the Lord line and created a new tartan. It was only subtly different from the tartan that McBain's had worn for over 100 years, but this tartan was blessed by the chief of the clan, my grandfather. Later that year, he had that tartan woven into a kilt. I am wearing that kilt tonight. I still hadn't met her, by the way. 1962, Peggy gave birth to her son, Fritz Shoulder the Sixth, somewhere. And then Fritz Shoulder the Sixth later gave birth to Fritz Shoulder the Seventh. See how this goes? In 1968, I still hadn't met her. In 1968, Peggy married James McBain, the 22nd hereditary chief of Clan McBain. And at that moment, I had met Peggy. And at that moment, I got a new title. I was the evil stepchild. Yes, indeed, you don't move into somebody's home when you're 14. 8:30 bedtime does not work. We locked horns for many, many years. But thankfully, there were big events on the horizon. We had a McBain go to the moon with our tartan, put it on the moon, and come back. And so now we're the moon clan. No, I don't mean that. And then in 2006, when the dust had finally settled, and I realized this woman from Wisconsin, who I thought only loved butter, cheese, and salt. You all know this, right? I realized that she didn't just join the family. She took the family in her back and she took it to a new level, right? She was a competitive dancer for the local Scottish Society. She was the editor of the Seven Pipers magazine. She went with the chief to every Highland Games in the state of Arizona, the first ones to when they retired in 2019, all except for 2009 because, they had to be in Scotland. So I was going to say her biggest fan, but I think there's some pretty big fans here tonight. So I'll just say I became a big fan in 2006 when she created a new national holiday in Scotland that they don't know what to call. Here we call it the 4th of July. And she had 125 people on her deck. Her deck was much bigger than this puny little thing. If this was her deck, you guys could be doing line dancing. I guess we call it Scottish country. We don't do the line dancing. That's Texas, right? Okay. So we had 125 people on that deck, and she threw the biggest and the best parties every year, twice a year, right? You had the never-ending jigsaw puzzle wars. Yes. You had champagne cork distance contests. And we have the forever winner here tonight, Peggy. Yes, and those are just a few of the things you did. And then you guys were amazing. You brought never-ending food to these events. But I can't do that stuff. So I just pulled out my wallet, and there you go. But I do have drinks for you all. So I'm Richard. I am 2 feathers short. That's what happens when you're not yet the chief. You wear 1 feather, and it means you're allowed to make any mistake you want to. Because you are in training. Yes, that's it. 2 feathers short, the chief. May he live forever. Thank you very much for coming.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Peggy's brother. Peggy was my big sister. I had 2 other sisters, one of which was my partner in crime. Peggy was a sensible one, and she was the one that kind of tried to keep us straight. And of course, I was angelic as a child, but that's my words. Other people have other words. I don't know about that. Peggy was very social. She was very popular in glee clubs. She was in choir. She did all kinds of things in high school. She had steady bows. The first was a guy named Dave Harper, who was the son of the local optometrist and a talented pianist. And the second was Fritz, who was a talented artist, very talented artist. When she got married, I was still quite young, and moved out to California and Arizona in turn. But she was always my big sister. She was the one who kept things straight. Later in life, we really became friends. We actually became business partners. We had a business called Scott Enterprises. We have no sound. Oh, really? We're going to plug this in after. I'm not repeating. Sorry. One of the highlights of our relationship was a trip to Scotland that we took 3 or 4 years ago. We visited Celia, who we'd met in Tucson a couple of years before, and toured Scotland with Jim and Peggy. Went to Loch Ness, went to the McBain Park, and saw all the gorse, which Richard does a fine job of keeping under control when he gets there. And toured Edinburgh, went to a few Scottish events. The Queen refused to meet with us. I was 3 feathers short. My sister turned out to be a warm, welcoming, very open person. She was a terrific hostess, as Richard mentioned. She made sure that everybody felt welcome. Everybody was welcomed into her home with open arms. And she was just a great friend and a great person, and I will miss her dearly. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. My name is Fritz Shoulder. I am the son of Peggy McBain. I've had the privilege of knowing her most all my life. I have a saying that life is good, but life is also long. And everyone goes through many transitions over the years. I know my mother started out Mary Margaret Stevenson. And I was just asking Dave today how soon she changed it to Peggy Stevenson. It's about 10 years. She didn't like Mary Margaret. Now, Mary Margaret was her mother was Mary, and she was a good but slightly stern woman with children. I know this because I met her for at least 30 minutes when I was 6. She taught me how to pick the strawberries, and so that was unfortunately my only meeting with her. And my grandfather, though, I get to spend a lot more time with, Lyle Stevenson. He was a kind of a raspy Methodist minister, so very friendly with a sparkle in his eye at all times, and a love for both golf as well as chess. And so I was able to minimally learn both. And then after Peggy Stevenson, she briefly married my father, 4 or 5 years, Fritz Shoulder. He was a painter. But then it was after she finally got tired of him. She met the love of her life, the McBain, James McBain. And I can be very proud to say that it was mother and Jim that raised me, more or less, as much as mother would let him. And of course, we have I met Richard. I was about 6 or 7, and like Richard said, Richard and Mom, they sort of got along. Now, the story that Richard did not tell you was we were traveling to Scotch Point, and this was 69 or something like that. And Richard and I were arguing about. I had to sit in the middle because I was the youngest. Jackie McBain was there, and anyway, we argued. You know, he put his feet on my side. And I couldn't stand it, so we were yelling at each other. And James pulled over and said, "We're not going another mile until Richard, you apologize, to Peggy." And Richard said, "Oh yeah." He opened the door and went for the woods. And it literally took him, I'm not kidding, 40 minutes to get him out of the woods where he could get back in the car. Now, Mom didn't have to apologize to him, but it was certainly, you knew better than to ever stop the car when you were driving. And I'm so thankful for Richard for all the things he's done for my mom. Over the years, and especially the last 4 or 5. So I remember being kind of a latchkey kid in the beginning, and as Mom and James were working at Scott Photo, and the smell of the developer became kind of a familiar smell, and Richard became part of the Palantir high school paper, and it took off and won all kinds of awards. And but my relationship with Richard has been very good. And his relationship with my mom, of course, grew over time. It became fast friends, not really. And so, it's been a long time, and I know, my mom has talked about Jim a lot, and there's always little things that irritate you, but she loves you so much, and they loved each other, and we're great partners together. And I know it's got to be hard in some ways, but my mother also said, always be positive, and also death is not the end. Now, one thing that you may or may not know about my mother, because she was a little selective on telling people, is that her ideas of life and death and what happens after is a little more controversial. She was a member of a group named RAM that actually went about using psychics to rewrite some of the Bible, and we're talking about the psychic that I know did medical readings without charge, without ever meeting the people. You just do them. And I had one where during the reading, I was told that my spine was out of adjustment, told you which vertebrae, which side. And so my mom went to the doctor, played him recording of the from the psychic before they did the X-ray, and he thought she was nuts. And after the X-ray was done, he called her because the reading of which disc on which side was absolutely 100% correct. And so for me, it just gave me. I've always been kind of a hopeful agnostic, but I've always believed in God, and I know my mom did, and but she also believed in, there were things that are missing, and she was very comforted and very energetic in trying to get some more information, that we came back for more than one life, for instance. All right, that there was reincarnation, and it was kind of left out of the Bible because people just couldn't understand it. It was too much for the people. Now, but one thing she did tell me is that if she had a funeral or a memorial, that she'd be here. All right. She says, most people usually come. She says, look around where not everybody is and stuff. But I know that right now she's here, to much of Jim's chagrin, probably next to him. But he let her have her own way, and and her own beliefs, and to be honest with you, it's one of the best scenarios I've ever seen of philosophy of religion. And religion and politics we're going to leave on the side today, but I would like a couple things. First of all, by the way, this is my son Fritz, and we haven't been able to really see Mom in the last several years, but it's always on Christmas and Thanksgiving, and of course 4th of July. Fritz used to be I think he only lasted a year, but he was both a country dancer as well as a Highland dancer for a while. And by the way, some pipers rule. So. And that was Lisa's his mom's second family. And but anyway, so as you say, give your condolences to Jim today, or I think right now, if you want to just say hi to Mom, just wave your hand and say, "Hi, Peggy." And now you talk to the dead. So anyway, so it's a pleasure, and it's already been such a nice event. My son and I, my son especially, have not met a lot of his family on Mom's side, and so he's beginning to meet. And I haven't seen cousins I haven't seen in a long time, and it's really nice to catch up. And it's a beautiful event, and for all of you here, thank you so much. And I know it's something that Mom really loves. So, Mom.
On that whole religion thing, I'll just say in 2006, when I was working on her deck and there was 2 days left and the railing wasn't up and part of that deck is 16 feet off the ground, and I went to her and said, I don't think we're going to get done. She just looked at me and said, I've got it taken care of. Now, I don't know if it works the way Fritz did because I'm the one who got it done. Okay?
Well, at the risk, I wrote down my comments, and really a lot of things have already been said by other people, but I'll just go through it quickly anyway. Upon Peggy's passing, I wanted to take the chance to highlight some of the ways that Peggy has contributed to the Scottish community over the years. Of course, many of you know all of this much better than I. Still, I thought I'd give it a shot. Peggy has been a positive force for decades in the Scottish community. Okay. So Peggy has been a positive force for decades in the Scottish community. She started dancing in the Seven Pipers Country Dance Performance Group in 1978 and danced for over 2 decades. She was in charge of the Seven Pipers in Print newsletter for 14 years. Peggy was a founding member of the well-known Taste of Scotland in Tucson. Peggy also set up the booth, made and stored food, and performed at the first equally well-known Tucson Meet Yourself. As most of you know well, Jim and Peggy have hosted a myriad of Scottish events at their home over the years. Since its inception and until they retired, Jim and Peggy never missed a Tucson Highland Games, as Richard said. They have been at every Phoenix and Prescott Highland Games, save the first, and have been at every Flagstaff Highland Games other than 2009, as Richard said, when they were in Scotland performing duties there. Remarkably, we are talking here about decades and decades of time. Jim and Peggy have attended Highland Games all over the country in Michigan, Idaho, Georgia, Kentucky, North and South Carolina, 3 locales in Colorado, 6 in California. Outside the country, Jim and Peggy attended Highland Games in Calgary, Canada, and numerous Scottish events and ceremonies in Scotland, including perhaps most notably the Queen's Garden Party. Jim and Peggy have also attended numerous McBain gatherings across the country. Virginia, 2 locales in Kansas, and 2 in Colorado and California. Outside the country, they attended, the McBain Gathering in Nova Scotia. Jim and Peggy have been frequent guests of Celia McIntosh of Moy Hall near Inverness, Scotland, often attending the Moy Sports Fair there. They have frequently hosted Celia in their own home as well. There are many, many good friends in Scotland. In short, Peggy and James have been ambassadors of goodwill and have been a huge sustained benefit to the Scottish community with over 4 decades of service. And of course, again, it bears repeating, there were all those parties. Peggy and Jim hosted so many parties over the years, Thanksgiving and 4th of July most notably. There were many a Kaylee, too many to count, awesome parties. Peggy loved Chardonnay and butter and salt. She loved playing the game Apples to Apples. Peggy loved to chat with people at the games, sometimes a little more than Jim might have liked. She enjoyed parties and having a good time. She loved her family and her friends. She loved Jim. Peggy was a wonderful cook. I was amazed at how effortlessly she made it seem when she hosted events. She had a zest for life. She was devoted to Jim. Exercise, on the other hand, definitely not her thing. Regarding time at the end, I wanted to thank Penny for her remarkable work helping Peggy and Jim. You have done an outstanding job. Thank you, Penny, so much for all your efforts. Peggy picked extremely well when she chose you. And special thanks goes out to Dorothy Barth for all her help with both Peggy and Jim over the years, and especially at the end with Peggy. Dorothy's efforts have been above and beyond the call of duty and quite exemplary. Thank you so much, Dorothy. And it goes without saying that Richard has been amazing throughout. It's a page-turning thing.
I think we're back to stepchild.
Though I do think that the effort of the move took a heavy toll on Peggy, she was definitely looking out for Jim and set him up nicely in their new single-level home where he can stay as long as he likes. Peggy, even though she was definitely not well, was very concerned about celebrating my birthday, which I thought was remarkably selfless of her. She passed away only 12 days later. Given her condition, I would not even have expected her to remember my birthday, let alone be game for any sort of celebration. I'm almost done here. Despite being the daughter of a minister, Peggy was not religious in a traditional sense, but she did consider herself very spiritual. Peggy was very sweet and kind and selfless at the end. I don't recall ever hearing her complain. It's a remarkable test of character to deal with the type of medical issues that Peggy did with such kindness and positivity. It was extremely impressive of her to be so sweet and so kind as she was. And as a final thought, while I do not pretend to begin to understand Peggy's spiritual beliefs, She was firm in what she believed. I fervently hope that she is on another plane somewhere, enjoying the heck out of wherever she may be. It is clear that Peggy will be dearly missed. So if anyone else would like to say a few words.
I can emote. I'm deaf from the bagpipes, so I speak really loudly. My mother would have liked to come, Juanita Mayo, and just a bit afraid of COVID, so we didn't want to push it. So she sends her love to everyone, and please call her or go by and visit. She would love that. On my way over, we stopped to take her some dinner, and I put it in the kitchen. Then I went into her bedroom, and she said, "What are you doing in there?" And I said, "Well, I'm getting one of your scarves to wear." And so then, of course, Mom, being Mom, said, "Don't you dare lose that." And I wish she were here because it's all over the place. But I just wanted to say a few things. I never was able to make it to one of the famous Thanksgiving dinners because we do our own thing with my mom's family. But Peggy told me about her turkey. She said she put it in a bag, set the oven at 225, put a can of broth on it, seasoned it, whatever, put a can of broth in there, and left it all night at 225, including the next day until the guest arrived. And it was always perfect. Is that true, Richard? That you could leave a turkey from that night till the next day, till the guest arrived?
Not every time.
Okay. Well, I am for sure going to try. In fact, I'm craving turkey right now. But, talking about the parties, the relationships, I still like to say this to everyone. If it weren't for the 7 Pipers, I mean, my extended family, lifetime friendships. I think about Sue Flint, I met in college, and she said I could move to Phoenix or Tucson when I get done with Germany teaching. And I said, move to Tucson. I can't afford my apartment. I need a roommate. So long story short, she meets Neil, and 2 kids later, thank you, 7 Pipers. And Ashira, Scotty Dean, thank you, 7 Pipers. I can go on and on. And I mean, I just know that when this COVID mess is over, we all need to get back and do what we did best. So I'm speaking because I live down the street from hospice. And when I found out about Peggy, I said, Richard, I can go sit. I literally can walk there. And he said, go by if you would like to. And so I was on my way to stay with my mother. She wasn't feeling well that night. And I left the car engine running with my little mud inside and went in and said, I'd like to drop off this light up saint. And when I went in and saw Peggy, I thought, I don't think she's going to make it through the night. So I ran the dog home, and I stayed a few hours with her until she passed peacefully. But it's funny because I didn't know about the religion thing, but I remembered years ago that Peggy told me she liked a certain talk radio host, Art Bell. But one of the things I did was I played some really pretty music, and I talked about roaming. In the Bible, a priest told us at my grandmother's service that sometimes when you're passing, you roam. And, although I roam in the valley of death, you roam here, you roam up in heaven, or wherever you call that spiritual place. A friend of mine, Jamaican, said in Jamaica, they call it the traveling man, the traveling. And so I spoke to Peggy about roaming and traveling while I was playing music. And I said, if you're roaming or traveling, And when you finally get there, you're going to see your loved ones and your friends, and Terry Burke will be holding his hand out saying, "It's about time you showed," I can't do his voice, "up for a dance." And Phil Donaghy would have said, "Oh shit, where the hell have you been?" So with that, I pulled up a poem right before Peggy passed, and I said, I want to read you this. Father Harry, the Irish priest from Ireland, read it at one of our games. It's called Blessing. And let me get my glasses on here. On the day when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. And when your eyes freeze behind the gray window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colors, indigo, red, green, and azure blue, come to awaken you, in you a meadow of delight. When the canvas frays in the kirk of the thought and a stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so may a slow wind work these words of love around you, an invisible cloak to mind your life. And this was what I read to Peggy before she passed peacefully. So thank you. And let's keep the seven pipers. Let's keep the parties going. And we hope to meet up all very soon after booster time.
Hello, everyone. I think you know that I can project well enough that I don't have to hold the microphone, even for those that are on the microphone. We all owe so much to the McBains for so many years with seven pipers, and I felt that I just had to come up because pretty much every party, Peggy would come up to me and say, Will, could you go around and start talking to people? So we've had a poem. Anyone got a dance? We could use a dancer. Anyone have a skit you can put on? Everything from, the lone piper and their sidekick jeté to whatever. But the life and the spirit that came from the parties the 4th of July to Jim McBain taking me in with Scott Photo early on in high school, all the way through. We all grew up and we've all become one big family through that. And we are definitely going to miss Peggy. So thank you.
I'm Brian Durkin, and I'm here to say that Peggy was not only a Scottish dancer and involved in Seven Pipers, she was also an excellent realtor. And she worked with my family when we first moved to Tucson almost 30 years ago. And she is the reason why I'm in real estate today. And Jim, I was talking with my mom and dad on the way up here, and my parents found a house that they just loved, and we were one street south of Foothills School District. And Peggy let us use your address for 4 years. So we never had to pay him rent, but we got to use his address. But thank you, Jim, for a great education. Peggy is proof why open houses work. That's how she met my mom. And I just owe her everything. So I'm going to miss her.
Hello. I met Peggy in 1986 when I joined Seven Pipers Society. And Peggy, I'm sorry I can't be there for you tonight because you were with me during a very difficult time in my life. And I'll take that memory with me as long as I
I live. And Peggy, I miss dancing Cadgers in the Cannon Gate with you. I think we did it right. So wherever you are, Peggy, Godspeed. I love you.
Can you hear us?
Our son Brian just spoke, and God bless Peggy. She showed us every house in the foothills when we were moving, when we moved to Tucson
From the ranches.
from out in Sonoyta.
We had never lived in the city.
No, and so Aunt Peggy put us in her big town car and drove us to every house in the foothills that was for sale at that time. We bought one street south of Foothills, and Aunt Peggy said, "You can use our address." God bless Jim and Peggy. We got our kids educated. We attended 4th of July celebrations.
And I got to speak up, but it was Peggy who said, you know, between the Burns, the McKinleys, and the Stewarts, you probably got a little Scottish in you. So
we have participated in the Highlands dances. We have participated in Tucson Meet Yourself, all at the request of Peggy McBain and Jim. And we love her so dearly.
And she will be sorely missed. God bless all. Thank you all for attending. We love her like you did. God bless.
My name is Mark Pelletier, and I am forever have been the Clams Area Chair at the Phoenix Highland Games. And I'd like to share a brief story that I never really got to tell Peggy, but the story is also for Jim and Richard and Lisa. Back in 2015, my wife and I visited Scotland. Oh, I have to start up, sorry. And we sought out the McBain Park. That's me sitting there in my genuine Pringles Scottish sweater. And when we went out there and found it, there was a young fella, probably in his 20s or 30s, just leaning on the seat of his motorcycle right outside the gate to the park. And we talked briefly, and I explained what my connection was. And I asked him if he happened to be a McBain Klansman. And he said, no, it's just a peaceful place to come out and visit. So that's my McBain Park story. And for Peggy, on behalf of the Caledonian Society of Arizona, we are going to retire the back seat of your golf cart in your honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.